Hello and welcome back to the MBC Sports Podcast in 2020, week 12 on the MBC Sports Podcast. My name is Andrew Sulliver. I'm joined again by Connell Scruggs, JP Eisenhower, and Andrew Feeney. In a minute here, we'll talk about college football, the off-season pretty much, and then preview the national championship. But first, let's talk a little bit about Marist basketball. This past week, we broadcasted Marist basketball against Denmark. The girls had a dominant performance. Connell, what surprised you most out of the girls' performance?
I mean, one of the biggest things that surprised me is that they won like 60-8.
Yeah,
that's kind of. I mean, you show somebody a score 60-8 in basketball, and you go, what happened? Did the other team like foul out, or did they have like three players? Like what happened? But really, they're really good on defense. They're very good on defense. They do a good job of moving the ball around. They can shoot the ball well. They really do a lot of things right. When you're undefeated, you're doing some things right. And they have a big matchup, right? You said against St. Pius coming up this Saturday against another undefeated girls team. So somebody's walking out with a loss on their record after Saturday's game. So that's going to be the biggest one. And then the boys play after that game, and that's also going to be big. After suffering the loss to Denmark,
keeping them to 8 points, though. I mean,
right.
They were consistently getting turnovers too, and then they were scoring quickly off that, and they were able to just pile on with the points. And there was just nothing the Denmark girls' offense could do to. I mean, they were missing shots, and then they were turning the ball over. They had like 3 points in the first half.
They had 3 points in the first half. So 8 points in a game, that's about 2 points per quarter. So that's like literally one basket per quarter.
One basket per.
So anytime you hold a team to 8 points,
that's
pretty good.
I take that back against St. Pius though. They're not undefeated anymore. They just dropped 2 games in a row.
Okay.
Over the break, they dropped to Father Ryan, a team in Nashville, at their holiday tournament. They lost 35-18, and then
that's a defensive battle right there.
They lost to Stevens County in a region game, 59-41.
But in region they're undefeated, right?
No, that's a region game.
Oh, that's a region. Stevens County's in the region.
They're 1-1 in the region. They just beat Oconee County, 56-35.
Okay.
This is a team that's put up big numbers, but I mentioned it against Father Ryan, a great defensive team from Nashville. They only were able to put up 18.
Right.
And I know
Marist definitely has a good defense.
And in a 60-8 game, I know a lot of people want to talk about putting up 60 in a girls' basketball game. That's a lot in high school girls' basketball. But I would say it was definitely more of a defense performance than an offensive performance. That was one of the best defensive performances I've seen in a while. They had like 20 steals on the press that led to so many fast break points. I mean, Denmark was down by 20 in the first 6 minutes of the game because of the press that Marist started off with. St. Pius is going to need to break that press. And that was the same thing that the boys struggled with for Marist, was breaking the press.
Right.
Yeah,
it's tough because Denmark, they really figured out how to win that game after the first quarter because they started making adjustments and the press off the inbound. I mean, that it's suffocating. You would see Marist inbound the ball, and then you'd see like Cody Gaines catch it in the backcourt, or Luke Benson, and then he'd get instantly trapped, and it looked impossible to get the ball out. And then when you would move the ball up, it'd be a mishandle, or it'd just be a bad pass. So they just need to work a little bit more on breaking the press. And I feel like once they got to half court, the offense started to be a little bit more successful.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't like what they were doing inbounding the ball.
I did not.
I mean, they were throwing themselves into traps and letting the players come and trap them. I mean, they would inbound it in the corner and stand there and hold the ball for a second, let the guys come to them and trap them. Sometimes you'll want to do that so you can get out, if you can get passes out of there. But, I mean, it's not like Marist was easily passing out of traps. I mean, they were trying to throw long balls get across the court because they were in trouble.
Right.
I think you got to move the ball faster if you're Marist when you're breaking a press, and St. Pius does like to press.
Right, and if you do get the ball moving, this team's extremely good in transition. It's something they excel in just because of how athletic they are. Marist may not have the biggest team, but definitely not lacking in athleticism and speed. So if they can get the ball moving in transition, off defensive rebounds, and get it down the court quickly, I think that's something they can succeed in.
Yeah, and Marist really played extremely well in that first half versus Denmark. And Denmark is really incredible when it comes to boys basketball. They have a lot of players over 6 foot.
Right.
They have a lot of really
team.
talented players.
Yeah.
And when you look at how they played them the entire game, they played them pretty well until in the transition between third and fourth quarter.
Well, they shut down Denmark's best player in the first half.
Right.
Robert Coward, their leading scorer, averaging 18 points a game, only had 5 points all on free throws in the first half.
Right.
They shut him down, and then in the second half he got going, and that kind of killed Marist.
And I think also they were forcing a lot of turnovers, so Denmark wasn't really able to put up the shots they normally do. They couldn't really get the volume up, and that's something, if you can force a team to be able to lower the amount of shots they take, obviously the amount of points they're going to score is going to go down.
I think what's going to be huge for them is just consistency when you look at how they play. I mean, they have the talent, and they have those moments where you see them string a lot of good series together. It's just having consistency and being able to do that throughout 4 quarters.
The one thing that scares me for Marist is I would kind of say they live and die by the 3 ball. They
True.
don't.
100%.
I mean, Ian Erickson is a force inside, but more defensively than offensively. He's not a big shooting guy, a guy that gets you a bunch of points down on the post.
And good in screens.
He's more of a defensive guy.
He took 2 guys on the screen and got both of them.
But I wouldn't say he's a force inside on the offensive side of the ball. And John Traynor, I wouldn't say. I mean, he's more of a force offensively inside, but he gets into foul trouble a lot. And he hasn't been playing that well recently. He didn't have a great game against Denmark. Foul trouble, and then if you have one big guy to guard John Traynor, then you can kind of shut down the inside Marist offense. I wouldn't say it's a very balanced offense.
No, you're right. They do live and die by the 3 ball, but when the 3 ball is falling, that's when you see. That's when you saw in the second quarter when you got the surge back down by 9 early in the first quarter. Then you start to see the 3 ball. When the 3 ball started dropping, there it goes. You know, if they can keep that offense, they can keep their offense and start to be more consistent shooting the ball. I think you'll start to see them be more successful.
Yeah, it's not a very big team. They really rely on their jump shooting, and when they're not on with their jump shooting, it really hurts them.
I would say that's the difference between the Marist boys and the Marist girls right now, is the Marist girls are way more balanced offensively. Both teams play fast and actively on the defensive side of the ball. I would say just the girls, they have the inside threats. Ava Wirtz, Lexi Fakalaris, and Jamison Henley inside. There's not too many teams in girls basketball that match up with that size in 4A.
And one thing that's going to be big for the Marist girls going into the matchup against Pius is Riley Donahue. She's been able to shoot the 3 really good all season, but when you look at really well all season, but when you look at versus Denmark, she did struggle a bit on 3s, but she was able to get a few down, which helped Marist increase their lead. But she's going to have to be more consistent going into the game versus Pius.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, they have so many players on the girls' side of
Right, they got depth.
Girls basketball, they got a bunch of depth and a bunch of scorers. So I mean, Riley Donahue didn't shoot the ball well in the first half against Denmark.
Still scored 60.
But Maggie Thayer made 3 threes in the first half, so it didn't really matter. I think they have a good chance at knocking off St. Pius. Both teams play GAC on Friday. Much bigger matchup for the boys than the girls. I would say if Marist can beat GAC, they come in on a winning streak. I think Marist will knock off St. Pius. If they come in after a loss to GAC, though, I don't think they will be able to bounce back and beat St. Pius.
Right, and that game is away, so that is a factor because student sections do play. I mean, in football, they're pretty big, but in basketball, it's a lot more personal.
And
It gets a lot closer, and it's a little bit more personal, too, like with the roast and stuff.
I would say that
it's
Marist student section definitely had a force on Robert Cowherd in the first half of that.
You could see it in his
game.
body language.
And when you see on the free throws, home court advantage is huge.
It's huge.
When you get everyone goes quiet, and then you see that Marist kid just start screaming. It's just it's very distracting as a player when you're trying to focus on it. And I'm sure it has caused some misses. And when you look at it, home court advantage, it's big in football for home field advantage. It's big in basketball, too.
Yeah, and I would say definitely tune in. If you're not planning on coming to the Marist St. Pius basketball games on Saturday, definitely tune in to the MBC broadcast on NFHS Network 3:30 and 5. They both should be great matchups. Now we'll move into college football. National Championship coming up this coming Monday. Bunch of storylines. Connell, who do you like in this one first?
This game, after the way that Clemson beat Ohio State, I was honestly very surprised because Ohio State went up very early, and I called that. I pretty much I knew that was going to happen because Clemson hadn't played anyone. That's likely to happen when you don't play a team. They're going to get up on you early. But then the ability to fight back, that's very Clemson-like. They're always in the game. They're never out of it. But even with that, LSU has looked unstoppable this season. They look unstoppable against competition that is 3 times as good as the competition Clemson's played. And with that and the way Joe Burrow's playing, I mean, this man, he can do no wrong pretty much in Baton Rouge right now. And with the way he's playing, I would trust Joe Burrow, I'd say, more than any other quarterback in college football with the ball in his hands. And with the receivers they got, I just don't think Clemson's going to be able to stop them on defense. I just don't, and I don't think their offense is going to be able to keep up with the scoring. So I have LSU. I'd say by about 7, but
Yeah.
LSU though.
I'm going to have to take LSU as well. I just don't see a team being able to stop this offense. I think that they're going to get out quick and just like Ohio State did, but they're not going to stop scoring. This is a team that's going to continue to score, and when you look at how Clemson's built, they are very good on offense, especially with Travis Etienne and these receivers for Clemson, but I just don't see them being able to outscore this LSU offense with Joe Burrow, an incredible offensive line, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is really the factor for me. Didn't really play too much last week after coming off an injury, but he is fully healthy for this one, and that's going to be huge for LSU in the run game.
Connell, you said LSU by 7. It's a 6-point spread. LSU's favored. You like over or under?
What's the over?
No,
what's the over under?
LSU's 6-point favorite.
Oh, you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, I want LSU in the points then
LSU?
because I said LSU by 7, so LSU in the
Okay.
points. Yeah, I'm taking it.
I'll go over as well.
All right. Feeney?
I think I'm gonna go with Clemson. I'm gonna go. I'd say they win back to back. This Clemson team is really good, and I feel like obviously throughout the season they weren't given the love they needed because they were playing crappy teams. I don't blame them. I mean, I didn't like it during the season. They weren't playing good teams, but I was a little doubtful going into the playoff. But I'm gonna stick with my gut, and my gut says that this team is just the better team right now. I think Travis Etienne is the best running back, and it was one of the best running backs. Sorry, not the best.
Okay,
One of
good.
the
I was
best.
we're gonna have to correct you there.
I was
One
about
of
to-
the best.
I was
running
about to pull
backs.
up the Jonathan Taylor
No,
highlights.
and I know Jonathan
Um,
Taylor, but yeah, but he might be the fastest running back.
and the
out there.
J.K. Dobbins highlights.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins too, but he might be the fastest. I would stand by that. He's pretty.
He's
when
quick.
you see that speed, that breakaway speed, as showed against Ohio State.
He's definitely receiving back
Yeah,
as well.
and
as
you know
running
who
back.
else has speed? Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence does
Um,
too. Yeah, big.
okay.
He has breakaway
That
speed.
started
is a
having-
big factor.
He's
Now,
sneaky
also,
fast.
That's really
what about
new.
Joe Burrow? Hey, let's talk about
Hey, Joe Burrow.
that dude's got
I mean,
sneaky speed too. He's athletic.
I don't think it's that fast.
Trevor
it's just
Lawrence's
his
legs,
quickness.
though.
It's his
I
quickness.
mean,
Okay.
we really didn't see Trevor Lawrence's legs until really closer to the end of the season when he started just running.
Well, yeah, he didn't
he
need
was-
to use them.
He really didn't, but I mean, even last year you didn't see him use his legs too much, and
Yeah.
it's kind of new, and it's definitely added a dimension to the Clemson offense.
I'll take I think Clemson will cover. I guess I'll take Clemson to win it all. I'll take them on the points too. I think just don't go against Trevor Lawrence in college football, I guess. BT was the last team to beat Trevor Lawrence, and I guess they can just hold onto that for another year. I'll take Clemson winning by 3. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's a lot of points that'll be put up. I think we're talking high 30s here in this game.
It's not going to be like Alabama Clemson last year.
No, it won't be a blowout.
Not
if
at
it's,
all.
If it's a blowout, I don't think it's Clemson blowing
Yeah,
LSU out.
exactly.
Yeah, it would be an
Um,
LSU blowout if it's going to be a blowout.
I think, though, although that's what we said last year, and then Clemson blew out Alabama.
Yeah,
Clemson's
that's why
offense played
Clemson. They're
incredible.
always like, I mean, because you look at that Alabama team last year, and that looked like
Yeah.
one of the best teams like
Yeah.
we'd
And
seen
they
in a
just didn't
while.
show up.
and they just
Dabo-
got
That
wrecked.
Clemson team looked like the best.
That Clemson
Well,
team
it
Yeah.
was
last
really
year
the
was
defense. They were a
incredible.
sneakily really good defensive
They weren't
team.
sneaky. That
pick six.
defensive line.
No, but
that
like they hadn't
defensive line
been.
was
No, what
incredible.
I mean by that is they hadn't been talked about like this year.
Dabo Sweeney has
I don't
all the
know.
bulletin board material he needs for this game to get his players motivated. I think Clemson wins this one in a close one.
Eddie, don't forget about Eddie O, man.
Oh,
That dude's
don't.
a different animal. That man is a different animal.
I know, but I don't
Talking
know, I
about
just
getting
feel
players motivated.
Like Dabo Sweeney.
Who's the better motivational coach? Let's just throw that one in there.
Dabo.
Eddie O or Dabo?
Dabo
Well,
has it.
I'll put Eddie O. I'll
I'll
say
I'll say
Ed
Dabo
Orgeron.
for right now because Ed Orgeron has only coached one good
Yeah.
team so far, like at this level. So
I'm just saying
If
motivation
Joe Brady,
wise.
though, also
I'm
on
saying
the
motiv-
offense calling the game. You got to look at the coordinators. He's been calling a great game for the LSU offense all season.
Right. Okay. But going back to what I was saying about the coaches, if you would like to have a head coach and you're either having Ed Orgeron or Dabo Sweeney and you want to get fired up, who you got?
I'll take that deep voice.
I'll take Ed
Obviously,
Orgeron,
Edo.
dude.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I
he can
mean,
get a team fired up, I
I'd
think,
just
like
say
no
if
one
you
else.
got bulletin board material, though, I'll take Clemson's
Nah,
head
man.
coach
Screw
Dabo
the
Sweeney.
bulletin board. Every team's motivated nowadays, except for Georgia.
yeah.
that was
Georgia's
good.
just completely
In a second, we
unmotivated.
can talk about Georgia. First question for you guys: postseason now, we're kind of down to the top two teams that we kind of knew who the top three were all along this.
I know where you're going.
postseason.
An 8.
Who?
Okay.
No,
Oh,
that's
not-
not where I'm going. Actually,
I thought you were going with how many
come
teams should be in the
on,
we're
buddy.
playoffs
not.
next
We're not
year.
going back to
Just
that, JP.
I think we should go
down.
back to
That's a
that.
topic
Slow
for another
down.
time.
We're going.
Take a deep breath.
I'm gonna go to who is the number 4 team in the country this year.
Oh,
Oregon.
who is the number 4 team?
It's Oregon.
It's
There's
Oregon.
no question.
I would
in
go
my opinion.
Oregon.
It's Oregon. They proved it. I know they lost 2. Was it 2 or 1 game? It was 2.
It was
because-
2.
They lost to
I s-
Auburn
yeah.
and
They
Arizona
lost
State.
to Auburn week 1, and they
Yeah,
lost
that was,
to
it was week
Is-
1, and they. I don't.
Is Oregon above Georgia for you, Feeney?
Yes,
yeah.
because Georgia's not motivated.
Okay.
Georgia's not in my top. I mean,
If-
I'm saying
if
that's
those
sarcastic.
teams-
I'd go
I
Oregon
those-
4, Georgia. Oh,
if those teams played
played.
Oregon and Georgia, who would win?
Oregon.
When they actually both
I
cared.
feel like Oregon.
Oregon
Oregon's
is
winning.
I would still pick Oregon.
Connell?
Oregon, Georgia, when they both cared, like
Yeah.
middle of the season.
Yeah.
what
like-
Oregon
or-
did against
Oregon
Wisconsin.
was hot.
Or like a play-in game to get to the playoffs.
Wisconsin
who
played-
wins?
Like,
Oregon
when they
was
played
hot.
against Wisconsin, Oregon
Oh,
played an
man,
incredible
dude.
game against Wisconsin.
That's really tough. That's
Yeah.
really tough.
That was,
I might have to go Georgia with that one, honestly.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pull a surprise here on all you.
I
I'm
know
gonna
what you're
say.
saying.
I'm gonna say Alabama is the number 4 team in the country
Yeah,
this
I
year
like it.
because if you think
you
about it, JP, Andrew,
I don't agree with it, but I
Andrew
like it.
Connell, if Alabama played Georgia
They didn't beat
as
a
a
ranked
pl-
team.
as a pl-
Bama.
as a play-in game to get to the playoffs, who's gonna win?
I just look at the common. I actually no, because you
If
can't
they're
say
playing
common
Oregon,
player
I pick
because-
Oregon.
No. I said first of all, I said Georgia.
Alabama,
Who
Georgia.
wins?
Alabama, Georgia.
That would be
Alabama.
Dude,
That
yeah.
would be a
See,
lot
Alabama.
closer.
I
I'm
think-
saying
I just-
Alabama
I
wins.
say Alabama.
I think
But I
Alabama
don't
will
think
win.
Yeah.
they're above Oregon. I would still put
You think
Oregon at my
Oregon would
number
beat
I'm
four.
telling you,
Alabama.
Oregon
think
this
Oregon
year.
would beat
I just
Bama.
think Oregon this year.
Because when you look at Alabama didn't win a ranked game against a ranked team except for
Yeah.
Michigan. And Michigan's not really one of those programs you can
Yeah.
say, I just beat Michigan.
I still believe that Notre Dame win
Still
was
a
a
good
fluke,
point.
I mean,
just because of the weather.
when you look at
and
how
everything.
Wisconsin absolutely destroyed Michigan.
Mhm.
They haven't.
I can never really. I mean, I just can never really tell with these hypotheticals. It's so hard because
Mhm.
every team sounds amazing, right? When you
Yeah.
put it in your head and you think every team sounds like, but when you actually put it on in a game, that's when it
I mean,
starts
Alabama with Mac.
Alabama's defense. I
Even
just
with
don't
Mac,
trust it.
even with Mac Jones, I'm picking him to beat Georgia because I don't like Georgia's offense and to beat Oregon.
Yeah,
because
actually,
think Oregon would be a
Georgia
good
has
game.
the kind of offense that could beat an Alabama team.
no,
I
they
mean,
don't.
I've
No,
been
they
getting.
don't. They don't have an
I got it a
offense.
lot from Cello after I said Alabama had one of the worst defenses that I've seen out of Alabama. Or I've
No,
seen
it's
out of a lot
definitely
of
it's the
SEC.
worst
They
defense.
are
and Nick's,
the worst.
it's the worst defense Nick
I've seen
Saban
in a
has
while.
had. Period. That is like
Oh,
actually
it is-
factually.
It's bad
supported.
for Alabama, but it's not a. I
It's a
wouldn't
bad defense.
I wouldn't say
would
it's a bad defense because they played like two of the best offenses.
Look what
in the
Auburn
country.
did against them, though.
Well, okay.
that's-
First of
that's
all,
Bo
first
Nix.
of all,
2 pick
when you-
sixes, bub.
one of the
That's
things.
14 by the defense.
Yeah, 14 by the defense. First of all, second of all, one of the things that you have to take into account is that, I mean that when an offense is scoring so fast,
You're right.
it puts so much pressure on your defense.
I didn't think
that
about
They
that.
were able to do
that-
it last year, though.
But the Alabama offense was not the same last year as it was this year.
It wasn't, dude.
I mean, when you look at it still, I just
if you
don't like
look,
the Alabama defense. I don't trust it. So if they were to go against Oregon, I think Justin Herbert has an incredible day.
the thing about the Alabama defense this year, number one, you have a first-year defensive coordinator. Number two, you have two starting linebackers that are freshmen.
One of the best linebackers in the country out injured.
Actually, two. So Joshua McMillan and Dylan Moses are both out. So
it doesn't matter who's injured. The fact is the defense didn't play well.
No, but I'm explaining why, and it's because they had two starting freshmen.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have excuses. It doesn't matter if there's excuses.
That's why they're bad, JP.
It doesn't matter why they're bad. The fact is they are bad.
All right.
I don't trust them.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that they weren't good.
I mean, obviously they had injuries and some problems, but they still just didn't.
Okay,
perform.
for most of these top teams though, or like the teams with good defenses, like if I think about Wisconsin, I would say has a pretty good defense.
They
right?
got a great run game.
It's because they have good time of possession. You look at Wisconsin's time of possession this year; they were number 1 in the country in time of possession.
There were still some defenses I consider.
You look
good
at these teams.
That
all right,
I mean, Ohio State's a great defense, but it's not like they're. I mean, they were a big play offense.
The only really good defenses that I'm thinking that had to face a bunch of time in possession against them would be Auburn. Ohio State is still 28th in the country in time of possession, and you face that against Auburn, who was 82nd this year.
and Auburn's not on the field a lot because they have a really good offense. They're on the field a lot because they don't have a good offense.
Alabama's offense. Alabama was 62nd.
He's 18 years old. Come on,
I mean,
cut him some slack.
I
this
said
is
that
not
he's
about
gonna,
Bo Nix.
He's going to turn into a good quarterback. I just don't think
stop,
right now.
Stop about
it.
Bo Nix.
Stop it.
Alabama was 62nd in time of possession this year. That's just so much pressure on your defense. They averaged almost the same amount of time on the field for defense versus offense.
Yep.
And for a top 25 team, usually you expect their offense to be on the field.
And when you're
more.
playing in the conference that is now turning in one of the best offensive conferences in college football, that is explainable. But also, I'm also going to put it on injuries and freshmen playing. But that's going to improve next year because you get Joshua McMillan and Dylan Moses back, and that I did not expect Dylan Moses to come back, but
I didn't either.
But he is back.
I did just because of the injury.
He's back. So, all right. Anyways, that was a whole tangent. But
all right, what do you guys think though? Recently, Fromm and Swift both announced that they were going to enter the draft. Do you think that was good decisions for them? And Georgia's got to replace them now.
Swift, 100%
yes,
good decision.
Swift,
he needs to go.
Good decision.
It's his year. Fromm,
no.
Absolutely not.
Horrible.
Absolutely not.
Bad decision.
Yeah.
Fromm played horrible this year. His draft stock went so
exactly.
far. He was going to be one of the top quarterbacks and
going into the season,
and
then he played awful, and it's like, I'm still gonna go. Like, why would you do that?
Also, for those of you
talking
talking,
strong quarterback class too.
Also, for the people that doubt Mac Jones, he had a 186 passer rating.
I've been saying that Mac Jones played
against
really
Michigan,
well.
he played
really well.
Wait, is that a QBR or a passer
four-star
rating?
Quarterback.
That's a QBR.
No,
that's not a passer rating. Passer ratings only go up to 140 or 150.
People don't put spec on Mac Jones' name.
It's like
158 or
no, it's like 152 or 3 points.
Tua had a 207 rating and Mac Jones had a 187. That's
QB
good.
rating though.
Yeah, but it's still good for him.
Still a rating.
I mean, people say, oh, he lost to Auburn, but also like he got kind of thrown into that game.
And also his stats against Auburn, they were really good. He threw for four touchdowns. Okay, I'll give you
pick sixes.
I'll give you one. The one pick six was bad where he overthrew his receiver. That was
one
bad.
of them was his
one of them was such a fluke.
Najee
dude.
didn't look. Yeah.
No, that was just a blown play because the tackle missed a block and the defensive end got in his face.
He still threw the pick six.
Okay,
also, going back,
JP, but you can't just
Speaking of Najee,
when that happens, you throw it out of the back of the end zone. You just throw it over the head so no one gets it.
It wasn't a bad throw. Dude. He threw it. He hit his body. It literally hit the man's body.
Yeah, but when you see your receiver's not looking, you can't throw
it doesn't matter because it happened and it's over.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. They're good. Good Phoenix.
Yeah.
Good.
So speaking of Najee, what are we thinking?
Najee, I don't think he should go because he.
For me,
if ETN goes this year, definitely he should not go.
For me,
this year,
there's so many running backs already.
Looking at running backs, it's hard for me to say a running back shouldn't go because of how short the running back time span is in the NFL.
That's true.
Another year in college is one less year playing in the NFL usually because of the wear and tear that running backs have to go through in the NFL. I mean, I think the average running back, like for all those starting running backs, a lot of those guys don't last more than 6-7 years.
I mean, usually you'll see him at 8.
I mean,
unless you're Frank Gore.
How many running?
Frank Gore's a whole different.
But how many? Most of these like good running backs you think about, they're not playing that many years in the week. I think Zeke's kind of burning out right now, in my opinion.
I don't know if he's burning
That's
out.
a whole
he just
other
had a bad
conversation.
season.
That is not it. His
Okay.
offensive line isn't good.
I think
So-
a bunch of running backs are kind of getting towards the end of their prime just because of how much wear and tear you get in the NFL.
Yeah.
So for me, it's hard to say a running back should stay in college because that's one less year of pay and typically one less year you're playing in the NFL.
For me, I think he should do the opposite of what ETN does. If ETN goes in this draft, then this is a very stacked running back draft, and next year will be very light. He'll be a really high pick
What does
next
coming
year.
back get him, though?
Coming back gets him
makes
higher,
him the highest
bigger,
running back in that class.
You get a lot bigger salary, and when you don't have the years that other positions have, it's important to get those higher salaries early.
So he gets a lot more money for getting drafted higher.
That's what you want. You're saying that.
But he probably loses a year of pay.
But if you look at him being like a late to mid first round pick, because running backs, one will go super early, and then the rest will start to trickle later. When you look at it, that's a lot different from a top 10 pick to a bottom half of the first round pick. It's a huge difference.
He's not even, and he'd be the 4th running back in this class. ETN comes, he'd be the probably the 4th or 5th, possibly even 5th.
I mean, I think Dobbins and
it goes Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, because we know he's going.
If ETN were to go in there, I would put him at 2.
Yeah, really?
I would put him
not above Dobbins.
I'd say 3, right below Dobbins. I'd say right below Dobbins.
ETN at 4. I'm putting ETN at 4.
Yeah.
Really?
You put him below
Who's
Swift.
at 3?
I put.
Well, let's just say our
I
top
put him
4.
at 3.
Top 4. Connell, say your top 4.
Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Travis Etienne.
Okay.
I'd still put ETN above Swift, but I would put ETN all the way up at 2. I just like.
Who are you putting him above?
I
J.K.
put him
Dobbins?
I do put him above
Dude,
Dobbins. I really like ETN. I think he's one of the better backs.
Dobbins is built like ETN, but he's like stronger.
Yeah, stronger.
And
more muscle.
He may not be as fast, but he's going to be more durable.
For
is
today's
the thing.
NFL, though, ETN would be more favorable.
No, he would not.
Not at all.
Dobbins,
Look at Derrick
Dobbins
Henry.
is a receiving back. Yeah,
Derrick
boom.
Henry compared to every other
Fell
receiver.
all the way.
Look at
fell
Zeke.
All the way.
All
to
of
that.
these starting
Zeke
running
is
backs.
a receiving back.
All
of these running backs are the bigger,
big,
stronger
man.
guys, not the
I'm
faster guys.
still so
I mean,
surprised.
I'm not saying J.K. Dobbins is bad. That is really close between J.K. Dobbins and ETN. Just personally, I would favor ETN.
Going back to look at a Falcons scenario from a few years ago, you look at Devontae Freeman versus Tevin Coleman.
Those are very different, though.
Yeah, no, it's a fast, quick, smaller guy versus
Devontae
a bigger,
Freeman
stronger guy.
And Tevin Coleman are completely different, though. I don't put them in the same area as J.K. Dobbins and Travis Etienne. They're a lot closer.
No, but it's just different builds. It's stronger and faster. I take stronger in the current NFL day
to be successful. Anyway, my top 4: Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, then probably Swift or Etienne. They're pretty close.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then Cam Akers out of Florida State.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Is Chuba Hubbard draft eligible?
Chuba Hubbard is draft eligible, and I think he should go. If he goes, then I probably put him above Cam Akers.
He's
if he
really
goes,
good.
He's definitely I put him
I think
above.
he's
But
top
also,
5.
let's look at what Cam Akers did. I mean, again, with that at Florida State, like a terrible coach.
Well, it's because they
pretty
didn't
good
have a
job.
quarterback.
Yeah,
so they had to give him the ball.
Yeah.
You know, another player that decided to commit, though, will go into the draft, Tua. And that was
smart.
All
play.
the quarterbacks are
Smart
choosing
play.
to go for some reason.
Okay, look, the reason
understand.
Tua
I
went,
agree with Tua's. I don't agree with
outside of
Fromm's.
Joe
I don't
Burrow,
agree
who
with
do
either.
Who are you going to draft
I
at
know, I
quarterback?
agree with Tua. I don't agree
There's
with
teams that need
look-
quarterbacks. Who are you going to draft outside of Joe Burrow? And he's going to go number 1.
Joe Burrow is
the Dolphins are going to
Joe
pick
Burrow.
Tua. Dolphins are going to pick
You think
Tua.
the Dolphins will take Tua
Yes.
over? Will they take him over
A healthy
Herbert?
quarterback.
Yes.
They will.
All the mock drafts I've seen, Todd McShay and Mel Kiper
Both
Jr.
do have
both
him.
have Tua over Justin Herbert. I think Tua is just a better quarterback than
It
Justin
just
Herbert.
depends on the build you want.
Also, throughout the draft process,
True.
a lot changes. So it's really going to depend on that. And depending on how Tua's injury affects him, I don't know if he's going to be able to do any of the combine workouts.
He's not. No. He's not
Looking
throwing.
at-
He's not gonna throw till
I think
like
his
May,
pro
June.
day.
May,
his pro
June.
day is going to
For
be
me,
He's not
Herbert.
gonna throw until.
I don't know.
April,
They
May.
say March. They say March.
If he does not throw at his pro day, I think he might start going down.
Dude, I don't think teams are gonna see him at his pro day and be like, "Oh my God, we need Tua
Well, they just need
Tagovailoa
a-
right
no,
now."
no, they see what
They've
they
seen
have.
the tape, dude.
The thing is, they want to know that he can. They want to see him throw after this injury. They want to see that he is healthy, that he is good, that he's feeling ready for an NFL
Wow.
season.
Let me just say, nothing is going to prove to them that he's healthy at a draft day thing.
Yeah. Okay. And look, even if you don't throw your pro day, just do a little private workout like Colin Kaepernick. I'm guaranteed
Colin
all 30,
Kaepernick didn't.
Don't-
all 32
Okay, JP,
teams will
calm
show up
down.
to that one. I don't think you're gonna have a no
that's
show.
a whole nother
At number
issue,
5
though.
and number 6, it's the Chargers and the Dolphins. It's really
Dolphins.
whoever the Dolphins pick, the Chargers are going to pick the next guy.
Yeah.
I think
Also-
the
Just the way it's
Chargers.
going to be.
I think Herbert's more of a NFL
Pro
type
style.
guy
Also,
compared to
It's
Tua.
a different.
look
It's
at-
just they're just different guys.
When you
Yeah.
look at Fromm probably going late first round, early second. Do you think the Patriots might pick him up, or do you think
No,
they're going to
Fromm is not going first round.
I honestly,
Why?
honestly, it's the
Fromm is
Patriots.
not going first round,
Absolutely not. To the
No.
Patriots?
No.
The
Fromm-
Patriots are the team
JP,
that I could see do
No.
something like this.
No.
No,
Fromm is
no,
not at all.
no,
first
no,
round, dude.
No.
They already have.
Fromm
I
is
don't
not a
think he's
good.
first. Oh, he's not a. I
In
don't
my
think he's-
opinion, Fromm
should've
was
stayed.
not good.
He's
They
not
already
even-
have
he should've
Stidham.
stayed.
They already have Stidham.
I don't
Yeah,
Why
they have
draft
Jared
two
I don't know.
quarterbacks in a row?
They almost took Brian Hoyer as their backup over Stidham, so I don't know how they feel about Stidham.
I'd rather
Yeah,
have Josh.
man.
I'd rather have
good.
Josh McCown at age like 45
Yeah.
over
Josh McCown is
Fromm next year.
All right, let's talk about
Fromm's
some of
not.
the quarterbacks that are transferring, because mock draft, that's a whole hypothetical.
Oh,
We
Geor-
that
let's talk
needs
about
a whole
yeah.
different
Let's talk about
podcast.
Georgia's quarterback scenario. I think
Who? I mean,
they got their backup quarterback from this year. I think they had a 3-star that was backup this year. They had a 4-star that had a brain cyst and had to get it surgically
Yep.
removed, and they're not sure he's ever going to play again. So I think they either need to get Brock Vandegrift to commit. He's a 5-star out of Prince
Yeah.
Avenue Christian down near Athens.
he's leaning towards Oklahoma right now.
Well, he was a
He actually
5-star
decommitted.
from Oklahoma.
oh, that's right.
But,
yeah, that's not.
I mean, there's multiple teams that have a chance to land him. Nobody really knows at this point. But Georgia really needs to recruit him hard. If they can get him, I could see him being the starting quarterback next year. If not, I think they really need to look towards the transfer window. And I think there's a few options out there. For me, I think I'm looking KJ Costello out of Stanford.
I like KJ
I'm looking Wake Forest
yeah.
Newman.
Jamie Newman.
I like him. And
Jurkovic?
Boston
Phil Jurkovic.
Boston College's
I like him
quarterback.
coming out of
Notre
Notre.
Dame.
He's got an arm out of Notre
He
Dame.
is a good. The only reason he was gonna stay at Notre Dame, but Ian Book said he was staying, so he decided to put in the transfer
and
portal.
Notre Dame got a recruit
Yeah,
too.
Notre Dame also got a 4-star and another 4-star coming, so he liked his odds better in the transfer portal, and I agree with him.
Another guy that people haven't necessarily talked about, but I would consider looking after if you're Georgia is Talia Tagovailoa.
That's also true.
Yeah, that's
Because okay,
I think he
But he
has
has
to
He's gonna
transfer.
transfer.
I think that's exactly right. Because
He's confident though in himself.
No,
Here,
I don't
here
think.
are my scenarios for Bama. Here are their potential quarterbacks for me for next year. Either they're playing Mac Jones or they're playing Bryce Young.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Look,
I don't
And,
think you
and
play
if it's
Talia.
Mac Jones next year, it's Bryce Young the next
it's
year.
gonna
Mhm.
it's gonna be Mac Jones. It's gonna be Mac Jones, and I think they should redshirt Bryce Young.
I wouldn't disagree with that. If they
because
had
look,
more
Mac
confidence
Jones
in
still
Bryce-
has 2
yeah,
years of eligibility.
Exactly.
So if you redshirt him, you keep Bryce Young for another year, and then you have Talia as a backup. Because Mac Jones, if he continues to play the way he's shown so far, he's a pretty solid quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not want Mac Jones at my starting quarterback. He's definitely good, solid guy. So you have him for 2 years, and then you redshirt Bryce Young and have him for about 3 after that. So
and-
that's pretty good.
Hey, Georgia Tech will take any of the ones y'all don't want.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I mean, y'all have that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
We'll take any of them. But I would say Talia's just. I mean, he's got to look for a new place. Another place I would think Talia has a chance of going is USC. I mean, when
No,
Tua,
they
when,
have that quarterback.
but when
KJ
Slovis.
Slovis.
They have Slovis.
when Tua talked about transferring though, where did he talk about? He talked about USC.
Okay, but Tua's different from
It's
his
a lot
brother. He's a whole
different.
different breed. People, the thing I think
USC
that
seems
the
content.
thing I worry about Talia is that everyone kind of expects him to be a Tua Jr. and that's just not what he is. Tua is like he's a one of a kind guy coming out of high school the way he played. I mean, think about it. Who puts true freshmen in the national championship game second half? Like,
yeah,
you gotta,
that's a lot of confidence in
it's
your
some
player.
kind of special.
And
to
you
do
know
that.
what?
You know what?
You know what I can't wait to see too in the future down the road at Alabama is I hope to see in a few years a matchup between Bryce Young at Alabama and Uyagalele over at
That's gonna be a
Clemson.
good
That's
one.
gonna be
because
They played in high school
they faced off
twice.
twice this year. Bosco and Mater Dei over there in California. First time Bryce Young and Mater Dei get the best of Bosco in the regular season, but then Bosco came back and beat him in the state
What was the
finals
score?
this year. I'll check on that. I think it was 39-35. Bosco
Wow.
beat Mater Dei,
That's
which was a
crazy.
huge upset.
I'm looking at Bryce Young, and I've watched a lot of his film. I would say he's way more like a Tua Jr. compared to Tualia.
Yes, and
Oh, he
I
is.
think he's actually a Kyler Murray Jr.
Yeah, because
He's more of a
you
Kyler
think of
Murray
that
Jr.
one of a kind that you're talking about, Connell, and it really appears way more that it's going to be Bryce
Yeah,
Young.
and you looked at the way he played in the All-American game. He threw 2
Yeah.
touchdowns on the 2 possessions he was in, and that's
Mhm.
against All-Americans.
Yeah.
Bryce
So-
Young's going to be great for Alabama.
They definitely
years
got
to come.
got something brewing there in Tuscaloosa, and people will be saying the Alabama dynasty is over. I wouldn't. I don't. It's not over until Nick Saban says it's over, and when
Yeah.
Nick Saban says it's over, then it's over.
And Connell, who would you say is one player next year to watch out for in college football in general? Just one big guy.
Wait, before you
Okay.
do that, before you do
Everybody
that, hold on.
everybody.
Yeah,
one
hold on,
guy.
just before.
Oh my
But
God,
UNC
JP! I was
Hey,
gonna say
JP,
Sam
hold-
Howell.
hold
You
on.
cannot.
Calm down. Calm down, JP. You knew he was going to say that first of all. Calm
How do
down.
I know he was
All
going
right,
I was gonna say
we
Sam
skipped over Felipe Franks.
No,
that's-
that's a whole.
I don't like
no,
that
I
guy.
don't
I'm just
like it.
I'm just saying, like, when we were talking about
He could
transfers,
transfer, but I don't
I
think
you
don't
don't
like
Georgia
think
will
you guys
want him.
don't like him?
I don't think
I
he's
don't
good
like
enough to
Felipe
play at
Franks.
Georgia.
Really?
No, I don't.
I'd say I think they'd pick Jet Duffy up in the transfer portal before they pick up Felipe Franks.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Um,
just
All right.
think- yeah.
Anyway, back to Connell, who has first pick in this
I
question.
was gonna
named
say
JP.
Sam Howell.
All right, Sam Howell.
Sam Howell, but if JP, you want to explain Sam Howell, you can. I'd also
follow
say
you.
look at the guy, the quarterback for Arizona State. That guy is also. I can't remember his
can-
name.
hey, you got Howell.
Tate?
I'll get
Is
someone
it
else.
Tate? Is it Tate?
No,
No,
it's not
it's
Tate. Tate You're thinking Tate Martell.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
No, that's it.
That's
Jaden Daniels.
yes.
Jaden Daniels. I mean, that kid.
He
Hey,
played well.
that dude has an arm, but the only thing is, he's got an arm, but if he just gets some more touch on his deep ball, he's gonna be something special. Because as a true freshman, he went in there at Arizona State and got some big wins against some programs. You got to win against Florida State. Okay, they're not the same Florida State, but it's still Florida State. Florida State, he got to win against. He got to win against Oregon, and then a couple other teams. Or he got to win against USC. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm mistaken. Maybe not. But you know, he's pretty good. I'd watch out for him over there. It's at Arizona State.
Yeah, and since we've already kind of mentioned how I think I'm going to go with, I know what everyone's going to say, but I am going to go with the Mizzou quarterback, Sean Robinson. Obviously, Mizzou is not going to be an incredible team next year, but when you look at Sean Robinson, you done over there, son?
You like yourself the Mizzou
Nah.
team, don't you know?
He's 6'2", 225 pounds. He's a
That's
really
undersized.
athletic quarterback. He's an athletic quarterback, though, and I think when you look at him, he's going to be better, I think, than Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant really just
Bryant
did not
was not
show up
good.
the last half of the season. And I feel like Sean Robinson's someone to watch. He's not – obviously Mizzou's not going to be in the playoff conversation, but he's definitely someone to watch as transfers from TCU.
For me, it's kind of tough. There's a lot of players I'm looking at, especially like Connell said, Sam Howell. That's a really and Bo Nix, a lot of those young quarterbacks. But I'm going to talk about an older quarterback, definitely Ian Book. I think that huge step for him was staying as a senior at Notre Dame. That's going to be a pretty good offense next year. I think he has a chance. Small chance, definitely a small chance, but he has a chance at the Heisman, best quarterback in the nation too.
Two people I'm interested in seeing, and it's two big-time programs trying to replace graduating and getting drafted quarterbacks. It's Oklahoma's program, and it's LSU's program. First LSU, they're losing Joe Burrow, obviously, probably first to the draft. Miles Brennan is the guy to back him up next year. Miles Brennan. Well, Miles Brennan is likely to back him up unless they go to the transfer portal. Or I guess theoretically we could see our guy out of Oconee County,
Max Johnson.
Max Johnson. I doubt it, but I guess it's theoretically possible. That'll just be an interesting spot to see who fills it and how they do. But player for me is definitely Spencer Rattler over at Oklahoma. He was one of the best recruited quarterbacks into this year's freshman class in college. He got a year under what's his name? Oklahoma's quarterback this year.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah, he got a year under Jalen Hurts, and that's big for him to get experience and to get to learn from Jalen Hurts. And then I just like the way they run their offense over there at Oklahoma, and he has the talent to lead them to another playoff next year. So that'll be another interesting player to watch.
Do you think that if he gets them to the playoff, do you think they finally win a playoff game?
Oklahoma?
Yeah.
No.
Not
Oklahoma's never won. They're
not
like 0-4, dude.
Not a chance. Well,
Banned.
they
Who are we
should
kidding?
have.
They should be banned.
They should have
blown out every
Ban
single
them from
time.
the playoff.
No, that's not
They're not
true.
allowed in the
That's not
playoff.
true. They should have won the Rose Bowl against Georgia. They should have
You're right.
won
I
that
forgot
game.
that game.
With,
That was a good game. That was one of the best.
Baker, they
Ban
should have
them
won
from
that
the
game.
playoff.
I still
Georgia
want to ban him.
0-4.
Still want
Oh.
to ban him.
They
You
really
know-
shouldn't have won that game because Georgia
Ban.
showed up, and
Yeah.
they came to play.
Ban them.
Still a really good team. And
You know who we
Also-
should ban from the playoff is Utah.
that was can you imagine how bad that would
they
have
didn't
been?
even make. They didn't make it in. So
I would have
really
liked to
can't
see
ban 'em.
Oregon in it.
Yeah, I can't ban him yet.
But
I would've liked to
the 2 losses.
The annoying thing is that everyone knew when Oklahoma walked into that stadium that they were going to get their brakes
Yeah.
blown off.
I was
at
That
that
was
game.
you.
Why
That
the college
game,
football committee
cool.
You
doesn't
know what
look
was-
at teams with 2 losses?
you know what's scary for me is the fact that Baylor was an overtime away from getting
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
even more humiliated. I mean, Joe
my God,
Joe Burrow
dude.
might have had 9 touchdowns in the first
Joe
half as
Burrow would have
opposed to
put the
7.
baby to bed after the first drive. I mean, it probably would have been a one-play touch. I mean, it would have been. It probably would have been first play touchdown, like 75 yards or something like that, like you saw against Michigan with Bama. Mac Jones, 75 yards to Jerry Jeudy.
Oh,
heard it.
I would have. I mean, I could have seen like 60-0 at halftime.
I mean, dude. I mean, oh
would've-
God.
It would have really.
Matt Rule might not have gotten the invite to
Yeah.
Carolina.
I don't think he would.
All right.
Luckily, it didn't happen though.
That'll pretty
Thank
much
God.
end it for this week's episode 12 of the MBC Sports Podcast. As we said in the beginning, be sure to tune in Saturday afternoon. St. Pius and Marist in high school basketball. Great matchups, 3:30 varsity girls and 5 o'clock varsity boys.